Learned Optimism, How to Change Your Mind and Your Life by Martin Seligman. Guess what? Optimism isn't just something you're born with. It's a skill you can master. That's right, you can actually train your brain to focus on the brighter side of life, and the impact is huge. Your mindset, whether optimistic or stuck in a cycle of helplessness, can be the deciding factor in your happiness, health, and even your career success. Your thoughts aren't set in stone. This groundbreaking insight comes from Dr. Martin Seligman, the pioneer of positive psychology. He spent over 3 decades researching the transformative power of optimism, and his book, Learned Optimism, How to Change Your Mind and Your Life, is your go-to guide for a mental makeover. Now, you might have heard the cliche that optimists see the glass as half full while pessimists see it as half empty, but let's get real. Optimism is so much more than that. It's a life philosophy that can skyrocket your career, elevate your mental well-being, and could even help your favorite sports team win the championship. Seligman's research is a true treasure trove of eye-opening findings. For instance, did you know that optimistic salespeople outsell their pessimistic peers? Or that optimistic sport teams are more likely to make a comeback and win? If you're not already practicing optimism, now is the time to start. So, are you ready to transform your mindset and supercharge your life? Dive into Seligman's book and discover the science-backed strategies to rewire your brain for optimism. Trust me, your future self will thank you. Let's do it. Cognitive therapy versus behaviorism, the mindset revolution. Not too long ago, psychology was all about behaviorism. Think B.F. Skinner and the idea that we're all just products of our environment. Then came Seligman, and his crew in the mid-1960s dropped the mic with a radical idea. What if we could change our behavior by changing our thoughts? Old school behaviorists were shook. But fast forward to today, and it's clear. Cognitive therapy is a game changer. It's not just about what happens to you, it's about how you explain it to yourself. And the way in which you explain things to yourself is the cornerstone of learned optimism, and it's called explanatory style. Now, let's talk optimism versus positive thinking. Optimism isn't just slapping a smile on your face and chanting, "I'm getting better every day." No, it's way more nuanced and science-backed than that. Optimism is about the narrative you tell yourself, especially when life throws curveballs your way. It's not about ignoring the bad, it's about interpreting it in a way that empowers you. And guess what? Even if you're a card-carrying pessimist, you can learn to be optimistic by mastering a new set of cognitive skills. It's not about empty platitudes, it's about changing your mental game. Before we deep dive into how to boost your optimism, let's get one thing straight. Optimism isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. It's a skill. And like any skill, it takes practice. We'll explore the concept of learned helplessness and how it contrasts with optimism. But for now, just know that your thoughts have power. The way you interpret events, good or bad, shapes your reality. Picture this. 2 dogs in an experiment. Both receive mild electric shocks. One dog has control over stopping the shocks by pushing a lever. The other doesn't. The first dog learns to avoid discomfort, while the second one learns that no matter what he does, the discomfort continues. Fast forward, and both dogs are put in a new environment with a new mechanism to avoid the shocks. The first dog nails it, figures it out right away. But the second, he just curls up without even trying, giving into his fate of getting shocked. This is learned helplessness in action. And it's not just a canine issue. Humans fall into this trap too, believing that nothing we do will change our circumstances and effectively giving up. This level of helplessness is a fast track to depression and a life of missed opportunity. The power of your inner voice, explanatory styles. We're all narrators of our own life stories, constantly talking to ourselves. When life throws a curveball, what's your go-to script? Do you say, "I'm doomed, this will ruin everything"? Or do you think, "This is temporary and it's just one part of my life"? Seligman calls this your explanatory style, and it's the key to either unlocking your potential or keeping you stuck in a cycle of despair. Seligman identifies 3 core elements that shape your explanatory style: permanence, pervasiveness, and personalization. In simple terms, do you think bad events will last forever, affect every area of your life, and are your fault? If you answered yes to these, it's time for a mindset makeover. Here's the kicker. You can change your explanatory style. Cognitive therapy isn't just a buzzword, it's a proven method to shift from pessimistic to optimistic mindsets. And the best part, the change sticks. It equips you with the mental tools to challenge your automatic thoughts, especially when you stumble. So, are you ready to rewrite your life's narrative? To swap out that old defeatist inner monologue for one that empowers you? If you're nodding yes, then it's time to dive into the world of learned optimism. Pro tip, want to gauge your current level of optimism? Create a free account at AuthenticHappiness.com and take the 32-question optimism test. Trust me, the insights are game-changing. The 3 Ps, your personal GPS to optimism. Let's break down your explanatory style, that inner voice responsible for narrating your life. It has 3 dimensions: permanence, pervasiveness, and personalization. Think of them as your personal GPS to either a life of optimism or a pitfall of pessimism. Permanence, life sentence or speed bump. When something happens, good or bad, do you see it as a one-time event or a forever thing? Optimists see setbacks as temporary glitches and successes as the norm. Pessimists flip the script. A win is a lucky break, and a loss is just the universe confirming their bad luck. It's about consistency. 2, pervasiveness. Is this a single chapter or is it the whole life story? This level is about scope. So when something happens, do you think it's going to affect every area of your life, or is it just a specific area and moment? Optimists keep the bad contained. It's like getting a stain on a single page in a book. Pessimists, they see the stain seeping through every page, ruining the entire story of their life, multiple chapters, so it spreads. And the 3rd P, personalization. Are you the director or just an actor? Who's calling the shots? Are you the director of your life or just a character reading the script? Optimists take credit for the good and see the bad as situational. Pessimists, oddly enough, do the opposite. They'll blame themselves for the bad while attributing any good that happens to an external factor like luck. Now, the realism check. I know what you're saying. Hold on, optimism isn't just a one-size-fits-all solution. There are moments when a dash of pessimism or a spoonful of realism is just what the doctor ordered. Imagine a pilot in a crisis or a business on the brink. These scenarios demand a reality check, not rose-colored glasses. So, what's your explanatory style? Are you setting yourself up for a life of empowered optimism, or are you stuck in a self-made pessimistic loop? The choice is yours, and trust me, it's a game changer. Optimism isn't about ignoring reality. It's about interpreting it in a way that empowers you. So the next time you're faced with a challenge, ask yourself, is this permanent? Was it a bad day, one-off, or is it a never-ending struggle? 2, is it pervasive? Is this event a reflection of one area of my life or many? And is it personal? Are you responsible for the good, or are you responsible for the bad? The answers could be the key to unlocking a more optimistic you. Unlocking success with optimism, real-world case studies. Ready to dive into some mind-blowing studies that prove optimism isn't just a feel-good mantra, but a legit game changer in the business world? Buckle up, because we're about to drop some knowledge bombs. MetLife, where optimism meets the bottom line. First up, we'll talk about MetLife. It's the insurance giant that decided to gamble on Seligman's theories and win big. Forget the old school hiring metrics of aptitude and motivation. Seligman introduced a 3rd metric to MetLife's hiring testing: optimism. Here's the kicker. Agents who scored in the top quarter on the optimism scale weren't just sticking around longer. They were outselling their less optimistic counterparts, the people who scored in the bottom quarter of optimism, by a whopping 50%. That's right, 50%. Optimism, it wasn't just nice to have. It became a key predictor of sticking around and having success and being profitable. Super huge. Hiring tip: choose the optimist. If you're in a hiring position and you have 2 candidates with similar skills and motivation, here's the pro tip: go for the optimist. They're not just more likely to stick around, they're more likely to excel and contribute positively to your team's success. When they don't make a sale, they're likely to write it off as a fluke. And when they do make a sale, they're going to affirm that that's exactly what was supposed to happen, because they are awesome. They will also take criticism better and are more likely to stick around if and when the going gets tough. Optimism isn't just a mindset, it's a skill set, a predictor of success, and a game changer in both personal and professional arenas. So the next time you're faced with a decision, whether it's hiring a new team member or taking on a challenge, remember, optimism is your secret weapon. Now, Matt Biondi, the optimistic Olympian. If you remember Matt Biondi, he was the Michael Phelps before Michael Phelps was even a thing. Seligman studied this guy, and he found that his optimism levels were off the charts. After a couple of initial setbacks in the 1988 Seoul Olympics, he was expected to go 7 for 7 on gold medals. He was expected to win everything. He got 3rd and 2nd place in his first 2 races, and people were counting him out. The announcers were counting him out, but not Seligman. Why? Because Biondi's optimistic explanatory style told a different story. So what happened? Biondi didn't just recover, he ended up dominating, getting 5 gold medals in the remaining events. His optimism didn't just help him bounce back, it propelled him to new heights of success. The NBA, where optimism scores points. Ready for a slam dunk in sports psychology? Seligman took his optimism theories to the NBA, and what he found was nothing short of groundbreaking. The study focused on the Atlantic Division, where Seligman's team analyzed post-game quotes from players and coaches. The goal? To measure the team's optimism and pessimism levels based on the statements they made after games. So what did they find? Teams, just like individuals, have a mood, and it's measurable. The Celtics, for example, were the poster child for optimism. Even after a loss, they would say things like, "Oh, that was the best I've ever seen the team run." On the flip side, the Nets were a psychological shipwreck, attributing losses to their own permanent failures. And when they looked at the games following a loss, the Celtics were much more likely to come back and beat the spread than the Nets. Never bet against an optimistic team that just lost. Their bounce back game is strong. So why is optimism your superpower? Like, life throws curveballs at optimists and pessimists alike. But guess who handles them better? Yep, the optimist. And it's not just about feeling good. It's about performing well in every aspect of life, from your career to your health. Optimism isn't just a mindset, it's a life enhancer. So, you're sold on the power of optimism. Now what? Start by tuning in to your internal dialogue. The next time you're stressed or anxious, hit the pause button and listen to what you're telling yourself. Challenge those automatic negative thoughts and reframe them. It's all about mastering the 3 Ps: permanence, pervasiveness, and personalization. Commit to a greater cause. Seligman wraps up by emphasizing that a life focused solely on oneself is a recipe for unhappiness. He even cites a study showing 0 cases of depression among the tightly knit Kaluli tribesmen of New Guinea. The takeaway? Connection and a sense of greater purpose can elevate you from helplessness to hopefulness. Optimism isn't just personal, it's communal. It can lift teams, transform organizations, and even shape the outcomes of NBA games. So whether you're a CEO, a coach, or just someone looking to level up their life, remember, optimism is your secret sauce for success.